It is a misty, murky day. We have 6 Celsius. It isn't cold, but it does feel rather unpleasant outside. Everything is gloomy in the garden. But don't worry, because everything here in the studio is lovely. Here we go again. This is English Addict, coming to you live from the birthplace of the English language. We all know where it is. Of course, it's England. Here we go. We're on. There you are. Goodness me, I've been waiting for you. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? Are you feeling happy today? I hope you have a smile on your face and a spring in your step. Many people ask me, Mr. Duncan, is there any advice that you can give to someone who is interested in starting their own live stream? I would say if you want to do a live stream and if you want to do it in a very professional way, 2 things you need. First of all, you need some water. Keep water nearby for your throat, and also try, if you can, to have a poop just before you start your live stream, and then you will feel completely relaxed. And for those wondering, I'm sure you are thinking to yourself, one question. The answer is definitely. My name is Duncan. I talk about the English language. You might say that I am an English addict. I love English very much. I would say that the English language is a very nice language indeed. Very popular around the world, and I know that because I have lots of viewers, lots of lovely students like you watching my live streams, and also my recorded video lessons as well. So my YouTube channel has lots of content. When we talk about content, we are talking about things that are there in a certain place. Something that may be useful, things that might be helpful on your journey in life. And in my particular case, in my situation, of course, it is all about the English language. That is what I do. And of course, we have the live stream as well. Can I first of all say, I've had a very busy week. I was away for 3 days. I'm back here now, but it was a very busy time. I did a live stream as well. Did you see my live stream? Something really unusual happened during my live stream. I don't know if you saw it, but just in case you missed it, I will be repeating it later on. I was attacked by some animals. All of that coming up a little bit later on. So we are all here together again. Of course, I should mention we do have the man himself. He will be here today. Yes, we are, of course, talking all about Mr. Steve. Steve will be with us later on at around about 2:30. And I know a lot of people tune in to this so you can see Mr. Steve and find out what he has been up to in this wonderful world of ours that we call planet Earth. Isn't it lovely? So Steve will be with us in a little while, so I hope you will stay here. We have a lot of things to talk about today. We are looking at a very interesting word in a few moments from now. Also, we are looking at weakness, a word that we often use in English in many different ways. There are many ways to use the word weakness, and we will be looking at that later on with Mr. Steve. Also, today's big topic, because last week, if you were watching last week, we did cover a very big topic. This week we have another one. We will be talking all about conscience. What is it? What does it mean to have conscience? Very different from the word conscious. If you are conscious, that means you are aware of your surroundings. You are aware of everything around you. But conscience is something quite different, and we are going to look at that word and all the things surrounding it as well. And all I can say is it is a very big subject. Can I also say a big hello to the live chat? As you know, it would not be English Addict without you there watching me as well, joining in live. Today we have, first on today's live chat, congratulations to you. Vitas, you are first on today's live stream. Congratulations to you. By the way, it is a big week. We have a very big week ahead of us. On Friday, it is Valentine's Day, and next Sunday, a certain person is having their birthday. Not me. No, it's not my birthday yet. But next Sunday, it will be Mr. Steve's birthday. And guess what? We will be here live with our normal English Addict. We will be here live next Sunday celebrating Mr. Steve's birthday, and he will be with us. I'm sure a lot of people will be wondering, Mr. Duncan, please tell us, how old is Mr. Steve? How old is Mr. Steve? Well, all I'm going to say is he is older than me. That's all I'm saying. Because I can't tell you, you see. I'm not allowed. Steve has told me that I am not allowed in any way to talk about his age, because it is his birthday next Sunday, and we will be here live for all of that. So I hope you will join me then. One or two people have asked about my studio. Well, you might notice behind me, can you see just over there? One or two people have asked about that over there. What is it, Mr. Duncan? Is that your special award from YouTube? Yes, it is. It is my gold play button. So when I reached 1 million subscribers, that is what YouTube gave to me, which I thought was very nice. And the reason why I like to have it on display is because in my life I haven't won many things. It's not fair. During my whole life, I haven't won anything. No awards. So there it is. I am proudly displaying my YouTube golden button. That is the reason why it is over there in the corner of my studio. So I hope we have cleared that up. Another thing I want to mention, I've received some very interesting emails, one in particular, asking for my assistance in a personal matter. Can I just say, I can't really get involved with things that are going on in your personal life. I can't. There has to be a certain barrier between us. And one of those things that I can't do is get involved with your personal problems or disputes with certain companies. I can't get involved, I'm afraid. One thing I will say, if you are thinking of coming to the UK to study in any way, please be careful. Please be careful of who you involve with your visa, your application to come to study in the UK. If there is a company that promises lots of things and all you have to do is give them a lot of money, I would say be careful. That is all I'm saying. So if someone is inviting you to the UK to study and maybe they want some money first, be careful. Find out all you can about that particular company. That is all I'm saying. Unfortunately, and I do feel bad about this, I can't really get involved with that sort of thing because there are some very, what's the word I can use? Crooked. There are many crooked people who will try to take your money in various ways. And one of them, of course, is to promise to give you a visa and allow you to come to the UK and give you lots of time to study English. However, some of the companies, some of those people are not real. Please be careful. That's all I can say. That is the best advice I can give to you, to be honest. So please be careful. Don't give any money to anyone until you've found out what they are, and if they are genuine, please be very careful because there are some bad people out there. That is all I can say. Back to the live chat. We have Beatrice. Hello, Beatrice. Nice to see you here today. Flower is here as well. Also, we have, who else is here? We have, of course, the one, the only, Luis Mendez is here today. Hello, Luis. Thank you very much for joining me. Have you got something for your wife? Because it is Valentine's Day on Friday. Have you got something nice? I hope so. Or else there will be no pizza for you. No fresh food from the oven for you. That's all I can say. Can I say hello to Regina Gomez? Thank you very much. Atiaf is here as well. Hello to you. I will try to say hello to as many people as possible. Also, we have Christina. Hello, Christina. We will be mentioning the Paris rendezvous in a few moments as well. It is your chance to join with me and many of the other English addicts as well. We have a big rendezvous coming up later in the year. Hamda is here as well. Thank you. El Habib is here as well. Hi there. Welcome to today's live stream. English Addict is with you twice a week, Wednesday and Sunday. Don't forget the time is always the same. 2 p.m. UK time is when we are here with you. Also, Zudzika is here. Rashid is here as well. Hello, Rashid. Nice to see you with us today on this Sunday. I can't believe it is already the 9th of February. This year is going by very quickly. So nearly 6 weeks, already 6 weeks of 2025 has gone by. I have to say, this year is already going by very quickly. Asen Puzzlu says, I will go to Paris with my class in the summertime. All I can say is you will have the most amazing time. Paris is a wonderful place. I know sometimes big cities can be scary, they can be frightening, but all I can say is Paris is a wonderful place, lots of things to explore, and if you are going in a group, of course, it is more fun. I think it is always fun to explore a place with other people, so then you can share the experience of doing that thing. Hello to Duk and Vuli. English is fun with you, Mr. Duncan. Thank you very much. That is very kind of you to say. And a big hello to Vietnam. I think you are in Vietnam. Are you? I think you are. Carrot. Hello, Carrot. Lovely Carrot. You know carrots are very good for you. Apparently, they are very good for your eyes. When was the last time you saw a rabbit with glasses? I think it's a very long time, to be honest. Silva is here. Hello, Silva. Can I say thank you very much for your lovely messages as well? A lot of people think that I don't read the comments, but I do. I look at all of the comments on my YouTube videos. So thank you, Silva, for your lovely comments as well. Here is an interesting word. As you know, I love the English language very much. I do. I can't help myself. You might say that it is a weakness that I have. I love English very much. Here is an interesting word. Now, I heard this word used a few times over the past couple of weeks. Normally when a person is thinking of changing something or removing something, or perhaps there is an objection to something that people have to look at. They have to see that thing every day, and maybe they don't like the appearance of it. The word I am talking about is eyesore. Eyesore. There it is on the screen right now. This is a noun, and it is an interesting word that we can use to describe the appearance of something. Something that is unpleasant to look at. An ugly thing. No, don't say that. Please don't say that, because you will make me cry. An ugly thing that is objectionable. Now there is a good word. Something that is objectionable is something that you don't like. You find something about it objectionable. You don't like that particular thing. An ugly thing that you find objectionable. Something you can't look at. It looks horrible. Perhaps an ugly building. A building that has been built in recent times. There was a movement with architecture around the 1950s, maybe also into the 1960s, where concrete was used quite a lot to build or construct buildings. Concrete. I remember when some tower blocks were built in the town where I lived, in Stafford. And a lot of people said at the time that those tower blocks were an eyesore. They looked awful. They spoilt the view of the location. Brutalism. Have you ever heard of that? It is a particular type of architecture where concrete and sombre colours are used, normally grey, because of course concrete is grey in colour. So there was a movement to build large buildings, offices, monuments using concrete. And this particular movement was called brutalism. And if you look it up on the internet, if you put brutalism, architecture or buildings and search for it, you will see what I mean. And these are types of buildings that have an imposing feel, an imposing look. They look rather imposing, almost intimidating even, you might describe it. So things that are described as an eyesore, an ugly thing, an ugly building, or maybe a badly designed structure or plan, something that you can't look at. It is horrible. Oh, why did they build that huge thing? It's an eyesore, an unwanted visual work of art. Sometimes, and I will say this, sometimes art can create a lot of arguments and fights. People will fight because of a certain type of artwork, something that people object to. They don't like the look of it. They don't like the design of it. They might describe it as an eyesore. A very interesting word. Moving on. For example, in a sentence, you might say, the new shopping centre development will remove the eyesore that was there before. A lot of shopping centres, a lot of buildings that were constructed around the 1950s here in the UK are now looking rather old. They are eyesores. The lack of investment in this area has turned it into an eyesore. It is unpleasant to look at. It is not very nice to view. The word eyesore originated in mid-13th century from Middle English. So believe it or not, this particular phrase has been around for a very long time. It is simply the combination of two words. You might describe it as a portmanteau. Simply the combination of eye and sore, an eyesore. Something that is painful for the eyes to look at. So you don't feel physical pain. What you actually feel is emotional pain, something that is not nice to look at. You can describe as an eyesore, normally relating to something that has been made or constructed, a building, a work of art, a statue. They can all be described as eyesores if they look terrible. So there it is, an interesting word. And if you want to spend a little bit of time later on, you can look up brutalism, buildings, brutalism, and you will see some very interesting looking buildings. Oh my goodness, can you believe already we are approaching 2:30? The first half hour has gone by very quickly. Mr. Steve is on his way. Yes, he will be here soon. We have Mr. Steve, the one, the only Mr. Steve will be here in a few moments from now. You know what? Sometimes I never know what's going to happen next, and this is one of those times.
Hi there, Mr. Duncan. How are you? How's everyone around the world? Are you cool, man? Are you cool? Dig those tunes, Mr. Duncan. Dig those tunes. How you digging? How's life? How you digging? How's life? This is the new trendy Mr. Steve. How you like it? How you digging? How's life? I'm into all the social medias, Mr. Duncan, the TikToks. I'm on all those, the Facebooks, the TikToks.
I'm a big boy now.
This is English Addict. I hope you are having a good day today. We are here, we are live. English Addict is with you. It is not just me, of course. Talking of eyesores, here is a person who has never, ever been described as an eyesore. It is, of course, the one, the only, the unmistakable Mr. Steve.
Hello, wonderful, beautiful viewers from across the globe. Here we are once again on Sunday. 2:30 p.m. is when I come on to assist Mr. Duncan in helping you to learn English. And it's an exciting day today. You've got some interesting topics, have you not, Mr. Duncan?
It's a big one today, Steve.
There's lots of new people on the stream. I've just sat down here for 5 minutes and I've gone through... I don't know whether you've mentioned already, have you, Mr. Duncan, some of the new people on the live stream today?
You can if you want.
Janet is new, following from Pakistan. We've got Carrot Lovely. We've got Kitu from India. Robert George. Duke Anvule, or Du Anvule, says, this is the best live stream, Mr. Duncan. So I hope that me coming onto it doesn't ruin it for you.
Well, I have to agree with you. You know, it is good.
But anyway, it's wonderful to have you all here. Apologies if you are new and I haven't mentioned you. If you are new and you want to make yourself known to the rest of Mr. Duncan's wonderful English Addict channel community, then just pop a little comment in the live chat,
yes,
and I will mention you.
That's it.
So we like to recognise new people, and please don't forget to like and subscribe and tick the bell, so that Mr. Duncan's channel really helps Mr. Duncan's channel if you do that. I'm just here to assist. So off we go, Mr. Duncan.
That's it. So just to say, like and subscribe, give us a lovely like, especially now Mr. Steve is here, because how can you resist? How can you stop yourself from liking that, really? And I suppose another thing I should mention is over the next few days, Steve, we have a busy time, don't we? Because we have Valentine's Day on Friday, and a lot of people who are in love, looking for love, or maybe it is their chance to tell someone that they love them in a very secret and some might say creepy way. And of course next Sunday, this time next week, it will be Mr. Steve's birthday. Oh,
21 again, Mr. Duncan. All my hair is going to grow back. That's my birthday present. That's what I want for my birthday, Mr. Duncan. All my hair to grow back.
Well, you were telling me a story, an interesting story. You saw someone, because we were away during the week, you saw someone who you hadn't seen for a long time, and they said, what did they say to you when they saw you?
Oh, yes, they said I hadn't changed a bit, which is nice to hear.
When was the last time they saw you?
14 years ago.
So in 14 years, you have not... You haven't changed at all.
Well, the thing is, Mr. Duncan, the proof will be in these videos. Because if you look back, I don't know whether... Was I on your videos 14 years ago? I think I must have been.
You made your first proper appearance, I think it was 2008. So
definitely.
Yes, 16, 17 years.
So go back 14 years. It'll take you a long time to watch all Mr. Duncan's videos to go back 14 years, because there's probably about 1,000 videos there.
Yes.
So if you're, got nothing to do one night and you want to learn some English, go and look at Mr. Duncan's back catalogue, as we say, all his past videos. You've got probably thousands on there, haven't you, Mr. Duncan?
I think in total maybe 1,500 actual video lessons, videos, various types. And the interesting thing is, if you watch the very early lessons, you can actually watch me slowly get older. So you might say that this is an experience of watching a human being, or maybe two human beings, slowly age. So imagine in another 10 years when I'm doing this, and we might even remember this moment. We might say, do you remember, Mr. Steve, do you remember that time way back in 2025 when we were talking about how we've changed over the years? And so we might be doing this in another 10 or 15 years' time.
Why not?
And maybe we will be looking at this video clip, using it as an example of just how young we look.
Well, maybe we need to use Botox in the future. Stay out of the sun.
Or,
don't put on weight.
Or maybe a time machine.
And a time machine would help. By the way, two brave people have made themselves known, Fulla Ofula and Pierre Franca from Italy. Welcome to you both as well. So don't be shy. If you're new, pop your name on the live chat, say hi, because this is really a friendly community.
Yes.
Everyone's friendly. People will say hello to you. We'll say hello. Other people on the live stream will say hello and make you feel welcome. Because there's nothing better than feeling welcome when you want to learn something new, like English.
Yes.
And I'm just Mr. Duncan's assistant. Mr. Duncan's the creator of this channel, but I just come along on a Sunday and help out. Put in my little point of view, my two pennyworth,
Yes.
as we say.
Can I just mention something, Steve, very quickly, that we are meeting up in Paris this year, and the date is the 1st of June for the big rendezvous. Of course, we will be in Paris during that period of time, but if you want to join us on the 1st of June 2025, you have plenty of time to arrange it. We will be in Paris and we will be doing a live stream with maybe you. Perhaps you will be there as well. So get in touch if you want to find out all about that. I will put the email on the screen because last week I was going to put it on, but I forgot. So, I've just... Can you believe what I've just done? I've just pressed the wrong button.
How long am I on the live stream, says Rosa? I shall be here until the finish.
There it is.
And, which will be around 4 o'clock.
That's it. So there it is now on the screen, Steve. Email address. You can get in touch if you are interested in joining us on the Paris rendezvous. Please get in touch with us. Thank you very much. That is very nice. And another thing I want to talk about, Steve. Now, you and I, we are modern guys. Would you say that we are modern and up to date?
I wouldn't put myself in that category.
But I would say we're quite cool cats. I mean, we saw you earlier doing your dancing and everything, looking very cool and trendy. One thing that many people are using nowadays, besides their smartphones, is a certain application called WhatsApp. And I think of all the different applications that have come along over the past 10 or 15 years, I think WhatsApp must be one of the most interesting because it would appear to be something that causes a lot of, what is the word I'm looking for? I want to say chaos, but that might sound a little too dramatic. WhatsApp is an interesting app, and we use it, don't we, Steve? You use it in your job for your work colleagues, and quite often we use it as well when we are arranging our big get-togethers, our meetups. So I think WhatsApp is a very interesting application. Although I've noticed a lot of people do get confused, don't they, Steve, when they're talking about this particular application, because they often refer to it as social media. Now, I have to say, anyone who calls this social media is actually wrong. It isn't social media. Now, when do you think of social media, Steve? What would you think of normally?
Facebook, Twitter, or X, I should call it. Those sorts of things. Instagram. Is Instagram social media?
Yes.
I'm not on Instagram or Twitter. I'm not on Facebook either, really. I've got a Facebook channel, but I don't use it because I don't need to.
So there are various different types of social media. The difference between social media and this is, of course, this is private. One of the great selling points of WhatsApp is the fact that it is private. So quite often people will join in small groups. They will get together. And I would imagine, rather like any social situation where you are meeting in a private place, I would say that sometimes people will say things that they wouldn't normally say.
Yes.
The problem is, if you are with people talking like this, hello, 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 there is no record of it taking place. The problem with WhatsApp is quite often there is a record, a permanent record of the conversations that took place. And the reason why I mention that is because we have a member of parliament very high up in the government. He's just lost his job for saying things in a private group on WhatsApp. And I think this brings a very interesting thing to the surface. What is privacy when we are having a conversation on something like WhatsApp? Is it private? And should those conversations be made public? So it is rather like, I don't know, it's rather like us talking, Mr. Steve, and then someone listening to our conversation, but we don't realise it. We don't know someone is listening to us. That sort of thing.
Well, I think with WhatsApp, it's just the only people that can see it are the people that are in that group.
Exactly.
The reason people use WhatsApp is so that they can be private, because
Yes.
it can't be monitored very well, because I think there's all sorts of firewalls or something that prevents...
it's completely encrypted.
Encrypted, that's
Yes.
the word.
So it is all changed into code which you can't penetrate.
But of course...
You can't hack that particular thing.
That's true. But of course, if you feel when you're on WhatsApp that you can say things that you would, or write things, because obviously it's not verbal, is it? It's written communication, although you can put videos on there, I think, short videos. Of course, if you might be tempted to say things to your circle of friends that might all have the same points of view.
Yes.
You might be tempted to sort of voice opinions which, if they were to get out into the larger public, might be deemed as inappropriate.
In many different ways.
So I think...
But I think this happens, doesn't it? And I think in private. So in someone's house, or in a situation where the doors are closed, people are indoors, they're together in a private group, they might start to say things that they wouldn't normally say to other people because they feel comfortable in that group. And I think the same thing happens here on WhatsApp. Sometimes people become too comfortable and maybe too open with what they type, and that is a problem, because maybe someone else in that group is taking screenshots of what you are saying, and they might say, that's interesting, so he said that about that group of people. Well, I'm going to make sure I have a record of that, just in case maybe later it will come in useful. So
yes,
that can happen.
Because you might fall out with somebody on the group. And for example, or they might not be friends, they might be work colleagues. Because work colleagues, we have a group, a WhatsApp group in our local team. There's 10 of us in our local team. And we say things to each other on there. And the idea behind that is that the company cannot see what we are writing because they cannot hack into that. Whereas if we were sending text messages as a group, normal texts, in theory, because it's on company equipment, the company could see what we were writing, but they couldn't see the WhatsApp messages. But as you pointed out, Mr. Duncan, if someone in that group, these are work colleagues, these are not necessarily friends.
No.
So you might say something about a colleague in another area of the country that isn't in your local group.
Yes.
And somebody who's friends with them might take a screenshot and show them.
Yes.
And you might get into trouble.
Well, or of course, you just say something generally about a certain group of people, or maybe you feel as if that is something you can type without worrying about any consequences. But of course, all actions have consequences. And I think on something like WhatsApp, I think you do have to be careful. Even though you feel safe and secure, you still might get into trouble, especially if someone is taking screenshots or recording in some way what is happening in that particular chat. I think you do have to be very, very careful.
So do any of you use WhatsApp on a regular basis or something similar? I don't know. Is WhatsApp available globally?
Yes, of course.
Are there other services that are similar to WhatsApp?
It's the biggest in the world. I think there's something like 2 billion people on WhatsApp around the world. It is huge. It is a massive thing. It is probably the most popular messaging service on the planet, to be honest with you. But it isn't social media as such because it is private. You are not publishing something to the whole world. So I would say there is always a difference between social media when we are talking about WhatsApp or Facebook. Those two things are different from each other. One is published, Facebook, and the other is private. It is something you don't want other people to see or to know about because it is your own small community of people.
If somebody falls out with you in that group and they've kept a record and you've said something, at work, from my point of view here, there's a rule of thumb that we are asked to adhere to as part of sort of working practice at work.
Yes.
And that is, if you put anything onto social media about the company, about the products, about other people, if that was to get onto a newspaper, before you write an email to a customer, write an email to somebody at work, read it first to see if there's anything in it that could be controversial, could be misinterpreted, and just think to yourself, if this was in a paper, if this got into a newspaper, how would it look? So that's always a rule of thumb. I always try to think, I'm sending an email sometimes to a customer because there are certain things I'm allowed to say and certain things I'm not, so I'm not making...
Because once again, you see, email is an interesting one. Not many people use email nowadays. You might be surprised to find out how few people use email. But
well, we do at work. That's all email, Mr. Duncan.
Oh, yes, I wasn't saying you didn't. But lots of people use email still. But even that has turned into a messaging service because now you can have live conversations using email, which I find quite interesting over the years, how that has actually changed. So you're right, Steve, many people do still use email and WhatsApp as well, but you do have to be careful. Never type if you are angry. Never get involved in any sort of conversation if you are in a bad mood. Sometimes it's best just to keep your fingers off the keyboard and observe other people in the group.
Yes, that's a good point, Mr. Duncan. If somebody says something to you at work that annoys you and your emotions are triggered anger, frustration, annoyance, then you can you are tempted to immediately reply. But and we've probably all done this. I've done this before, when I've sent an email and seconds later I've regretted it, and then I'm panicking looking for the button that you can press to retract the email, because there is a way of, once it's been sent, you can recall it. But of course, if you're too late, the other person's already read it. It's too late then.
Yeah.
But I have in the past sent emails, in anger, and thought, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have sent that." And then I'm panicking because I can't remember where to find the function that allows you to recall the message. Have any of you ever done that? Because there is a way of recalling them.
Yes.
But of course, it's probably buried in menus somewhere.
Yes.
And you're trying to get it recalled. Or sometimes what you do is, this is the classic one at work, is that you're replying to one colleague and you accidentally copy in or reply to all. And then everybody sees your message. It could be 100 people in the organisation.
Yes.
You meant to reply just to one
That's
person, maybe to say something sarcastic
Yeah.
about the content of an email from the company boss or something. And then you reply thinking you're replying to or sending it to a friend, and you've accidentally sent the email to the entire organisation.
Yes. So instead of
And then the panic
That's
sets in.
So instead of what a lot of people do is create a carbon copy in the email and forward it to one person, but they end up forwarding it to everyone. So there are many things. I think people have lost their jobs. They've been sacked in the past for just sending an email in a moment of complete and utter weakness.
In the heat of the moment.
Can I just say hello? Because we have some new people, by the way, Steve. You are not doing a very good job.
I've been doing a good job. I've mentioned about 6 or 8 people, Mr. Duncan.
We have some new ones now. Pasquale. Hello, Pasquale. Nice to see you here today. And also, who else is here? Oh, joining us again. It is nice to see Marcia is back again. And also we have Nicholas and Asen as well. So can I say hello to you? We have a lot of new people joining us. It's always fun, isn't it, Steve?
It is. And I'd like to say as well, a couple of people have asked me, Pedro's asked me, how am I? How is life treating me? The only answer is to say life is treating me well.
Yes, it's not too bad.
We don't want to be negative. Even though life's never perfect. But yes, I'm fine, I'm good. How are you? Please tell us. We like to know. So thank you for your good wishes.
Now, during the week, Steve, we were away, and I did a live stream last week. I went out and about in a place called Newport, which is in South Wales.
What a coincidence, Mr. Duncan, because I also was there.
Isn't that strange?
What a coincidence.
We were both there at the same time. What are the chances of that happening?
I was there at work, and you just happened to go as well.
I was there just walking around, minding my own business, and I was doing a live stream, and something very strange happened during the live stream. I was attacked by a flock of pigeons. Can you believe it? A flock of pigeons actually attacked me. That happened last week during the live stream. A lot of people said it looked very funny, Mr. Duncan. It looked very funny when the pigeons were attacking you. All I can say is I did not find it very funny at the time. I don't know why. I felt a little nervous because of it.
Maybe you were thinking of that famous Alfred Hitchcock movie, The Birds, where lots of birds attack people. It's a very scary movie, actually.
Yes.
When I first saw it, I was absolutely scared out of my wits.
Well, you might not believe it, but I did mention it during that live stream. I said I feel like I'm in that very famous horror movie by Alfred Hitchcock called The Birds, but instead of general birds, these were all pigeons, and they all suddenly appeared around me. And I have to say, for a few moments, I was a little bit afraid. I wasn't sure what they were going to do. Maybe they were going to peck me, or maybe do a giant poop on my head. Who knows?
They must be very friendly pigeons. They must be very sort of used to the presence of humans. And there must also be a lot of food in Newport, Wales,
yes,
for them to eat. Maybe they're eating all the waste food that humans are throwing away from all the hotels and factories. Maybe there's a lot of pigeons. They're almost at the level of being a pest, I would say.
In some places they are seen as vermin.
Yes, because pigeons are these sort of birds that can eat anything. Certain birds, like finches, can only eat certain specialised foods, but other birds, like pigeons, crows, they can sort of eat anything. They're very adaptable, and thus are pigeons. Like if you go to London, there's a big problem with pigeons coming down, and just in that same way, the pigeons in Trafalgar Square are famous because there's always a lot of them. I don't know whether they've dealt with that problem.
They all sit on Nelson's head and poop on him.
Yes. But yeah, pigeons in towns, because they can eat anything, they're very adaptable, tend to survive better than any other bird in cities.
I remember as a child, people used to refer to them as flying rats, which I always thought was quite funny. It always made me laugh.
Flying rats. I was going to say, Christina said, going back to our discussion about sending the wrong messages to people, Christina's admitted that she's often sending the wrong message to people, which you can do on a text. Very easy. I've done this before, Mr. Duncan, as you well know. I've sent texts to people and I've accidentally sent them to you, or vice versa, and you do it in a rush. You don't see what you're writing, and you can be giving away all sorts of secrets about whatever you're up to.
Yes.
And you can accidentally send a message to maybe your wife or husband that reveals that you're up to no good, because you meant to send it to somebody else. Because when you look at your text, there's lots of people to click on, and when you're rushing, then you might send it to the wrong person and get yourself into trouble. Or, as I've sometimes done, and other people have done to me, put kisses at the end of it when it's not to somebody that you would normally put kisses on, or hearts. I've got a friend that quite often does that to me. Friend of mine sends me a message and then puts a kiss on the end, and then has to say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to put the kiss."
Yes,
the cross.
Sometimes you can do it just with, like, your muscle reflex is just putting a kiss at the end, and you might be sending it to another male or something like that. We have some new viewers. We have. Can I say hello to Nico, and also can I say hello to? Let's have a look. Robert George, who asks, do you guys still use coasters? And I just demonstrated my coaster. So this is called a coaster. It is something that you put your glass or your drink on top of to prevent any damage to your table. So yes, we do use coasters. That is what they are called. They come in all shapes and sizes. So this particular one has a little robin on the front, and I do use this in my studio for placing my water bottle on top of. So to answer your question, yes, Robert, we do still use coasters in this country. That's an interesting question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question before, ever in my life, Mr. Steve.
Very popular to use them, particularly if you've got you're placing your drink onto a table that is made of wood. Wood in particular. If it's sort of a fake surface or a man-made surface, then maybe you wouldn't. But if it's wood and it's a hot drink, you would definitely want to we would still use a coaster, but otherwise you get stains, don't you,
Yes.
on your lovely furniture.
And quite often you can't get rid of it. It won't go away afterwards.
No.
The stain is there permanently. So I think that's a brilliant question, by the way.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, interesting. A very good question. We have a lot to talk about, by the way, in the next hour. We have the big subject, conscience. Conscience. Your sense of morality. Ooh, all of that coming up. But first of all, Steve, I want to ask you a question. Do you have a weakness? It is an interesting word, and I'm going to look at that word over the next few moments. So when we look at the word weakness, and there it is on the screen right now, you are describing something as a weakness, or maybe a person might have a weakness. So there are different ways of actually using this particular word. Something perhaps you can't control, Mr. Steve. Perhaps a certain urge or a desire. So maybe something that you feel emotionally that you can't control. Does that make sense?
It does to me, Mr. Duncan. Yes. Have you no control over eating chocolate, for example? Have you a weakness for chocolate? Have you a weakness for eating in general?
Yes, or alcohol.
Or alcohol. Or, in my case, looking at sports cars on the internet.
Yes. Steve's weakness is he will spend maybe 3 or 4 hours watching videos on YouTube of cars, motor cars, fast cars, sports cars, all sorts of cars, and quite often he will spend a lot of time doing that. And I think that might be one of your weaknesses, or a big weakness in that sense of saying something you can't control yourself. You have an urge.
We call it weakness. The implication there is that you shouldn't be doing it.
Yes.
And that it is you are in some way lacking in some kind of self-control. So that's the implication when you use the word weakness. But it doesn't have to be taken as seriously as that. People in conversation will often say, donuts, they're my one weakness.
Yes.
Because everybody, we've all got emotions. We're human beings.
After all.
And of course, we all have certain desires, emotions, things that we like, sweet things. Somebody said there, a sweet tooth. Inarkis said sweet things, and Javi Valentine said as well, sweetness is my weakness. Yes, because that's almost hardwired into us.
Yes.
To want sweet things, because it's probably something to do with survival. But of course, in our modern world, we have access to far too much of those kinds of addictive foods.
That's it.
So
Especially things containing sugar, sort of chocolate, for example. But of course, some people might have a weakness, or they might have a desire to drink coffee. Maybe they have that. That is their weakness. It is something they can't resist. Moving on.
Can I just say something very quickly, Mr. Duncan?
Okay.
Nisar, hello Nisar, has said, have you ever eaten Parle G biscuits? Is that a weakness of yours? We don't have them in this country. I've never heard of them. Have you heard of them, Mr. Duncan?
I haven't.
Parle G biscuits. Maybe you can tell us a bit more about them, because it would be nice to know. But is that a weakness of yours? Maybe. They say, says Vitas, every piece of chocolate shortens your life by 2 minutes.
Good. What a way to go.
Well, apparently dark chocolate is supposed to be good for you. I mean, so, I don't know. Dark chocolate is supposed to be good for you. So maybe that extends your life. We don't know.
Well, no, we don't. Well, we don't really know anything, do we, about that? But all I can say is, whilst you're alive, sometimes it is nice to treat yourself, but you must not overdo it or do it too much. So something you can't control, an urge or a desire. And then, of course, weakness can be a thing you suffer from. So maybe you have physical weakness, something that is causing you problems in some way physically. For example, I would say my weakness physically is a certain part of my body. A certain part of my body that sometimes when I wake up in the morning, it is very stiff. It is painful. And I find it very difficult to move. Yes, my back, by the way. It's my back. My back. I have difficulty these days with my back. And I think the reason is, Steve, 2 reasons. One, I'm very tall. Tall people quite often have difficulty with their back. They have a weakness in their back as they get older. So I do. I have that. I think so. And also I stand up for long periods of time. I don't like sitting down. So I do stand up quite a lot. So maybe that also causes my back to have a certain weakness. So what about you, Mr. Steve? Do you have a physical weakness?
I can't think of anything, Mr. Duncan. I'm perfect. No, that's not true. Do I have any weaknesses? I've got an ankle. A dodgy ankle, you
Yes.
could say. Dodgy ankle.
That was from your road accident.
That was from my road accident in my sports car many, many years ago. It wasn't my fault, by the way. By the way, Rosa, sorry, I didn't answer your question earlier because we ran out of time. You meant to say, what probably the best way of phrasing your question would have been, when did you first start coming on the live streams with Mr. Duncan? And that was about, when did I first come on the live stream? How long ago?
I think it must have been around 2008.
Around 2008, so a long time.
Yes.
So I've got a dodgy ankle. If you say you've got a dodgy hip, dodgy ankle, it means it's not behaving as you would like. You've probably got a bit of pain in there. Something's dodgy. It means it's not working properly or there's something wrong with it. So I've got a bit of a dodgy ankle from a past break in a car accident. My neck's a bit weak, I would say, again, from whiplash in an accident. And when you have breaks in bones and fractures when you're young, when you get older, as some of you will know, you tend to get problems with those areas.
So you can actually develop weakness in your body due to a certain injury, or if you just use it a lot, a bit like me with my back. So I would say my big weakness is my back. Quite often it's painful, and of course my eyes. I can't see very well. I have to wear glasses. That's an obvious one.
That's an obvious one, a weakness. But of course, yeah, or you could call it a disability, maybe. You can phrase these things in different ways. Of course, I don't know whether weakness might be seen as not a politically correct way of describing it, because if you can't help, if you were born with that problem, then you could say it was sort of innate.
Yes.
You are,
Well, it's sort of just disability, isn't it?
just a disability.
Disability,
yes.
or some sort of, I suppose, handicap. Because in the United States, it is worth mentioning that handicap or handicapped is still used quite often.
Whereas we don't use it here anymore.
We use disabled.
It's not seen as a politically correct thing to say.
Which is quite interesting.
Yes.
We have to move on, Steve.
Beatrice also has a bad back as well. Thanks for sharing. And of course, that's a common problem with us as humans is that we tend to get bad backs. It's a good way of getting off work, by the way, because doctors cannot examine you and determine if you're lying about a bad back.
Well, I'd imagine you would be lying, wouldn't you, if you had a bad back?
Yes, a lot of people get off work by saying they've got a bad back because a doctor can't really diagnose, can't really tell if you're lying or not.
that was a joke, by the way, I just told.
What was that? Say it again.
It's too late now.
Well, I didn't. I was interacting.
A person's will can be weak. So that also can be the sense of weakness, a person's will. So their strength, maybe their inner strength, maybe their determination, maybe they don't have a very strong personality. So we can describe all of those things as weakness, even though it's quite negative in a way. I don't think it's a good term to use all the time to people.
Yes, your will. So your will is your consciousness, isn't it? That's your. If you want to eat a box of chocolates, or maybe you've got a box of chocolates, and you know you should probably only eat 2 or maybe 3, and you eat the whole box, someone might describe you as weak-willed.
Yes.
In other words, you've not used your sensible sort of conscious mind to say, no, I'm going to put those away, I'm only going to eat 2. That would be showing a strength of will.
Yes. So it is a sort of, there's physical weakness and there's what I would call psychological weakness somewhere, maybe something you can't control, maybe a certain habit that you have. It is quite interesting. And of course, a person might lack strength. And again, we can refer to a person's way of thinking, or maybe physically, how someone is physically. It is an interesting difference there.
Maybe you can't resist the attractions of the opposite sex or the same sex.
That's it, or whatever.
Maybe you can't resist, pursuing people for relations.
Yes.
And maybe that gets you into, because sometimes these things get you into trouble.
Yes.
If you eat too much, eventually you will put on weight and you will probably be ill.
Mm-hmm.
If you drink too much, you'll probably get a liver problem. And if you're pursuing relations with other people, you might pick up some kind of disease.
How strange.
Or you might end a relationship because of the bad feelings around that. So,
or maybe you just pursue someone because you can't control it.
Yes.
And then they call the police and have you arrested, and then you go to prison.
That's it. So,
and then you will have lots of company.
Or maybe you can't control yourself on social media.
Yes.
And you say things and you get yourself into trouble. So your strength of will. We're not judging anybody here.
Well, no.
Sometimes it's perfectly all right to eat a box of chocolates.
Well, we do.
But if you had one, every week.
Steve, all of us do. I do. I'm weak. I am completely weak when it comes to food. It doesn't make me a bad person. I'm not a horrible person. But sometimes you just have a weakness. You think, you know what? I would like to eat some chocolate. Chocolate is my weakness, as it says here on the screen. So you might describe a certain thing as your weakness. I would say, without any shadow of a doubt, chocolate.
Yeah. So Christina says, I have a strong will, but sometimes I just want to have some weakness for personal pleasure. Well, that's it. That's it. As long as it's not affecting your life in some way.
Yes.
As long as, that box of chocolates or whatever it is, that glass of wine, you're not doing it all the time, so that it then it's having a deleterious effect. There's a good word. Deleterious.
Have you swallowed a dictionary?
If something has a deleterious effect on you, it's having a negative effect, a bad effect.
Or derogatory?
Yes, deleterious. It's bad for you. So there's a new word.
Yeah.
I've slipped into the conversation.
We've got to move on, Steve, because we still have a whole other subject, and that's an hour's worth of content.
Well, I'm not staying on for another hour.
Okay, well, now we know what Mr. Steve's weakness is. Doing live streams. He can't stay on for very long. I have weakness in my legs. A person who might have difficulty walking as they get older. It is a common problem with people who are elderly. They might find that their legs or the joints in their legs or maybe all over their body become weak. Weakness can be described as, or it can describe the lack of willpower or physical ability. So that is why the phrase is interesting, because it can be used in more than one way. Something you can't stop yourself from doing, something you are unable to do physically, and of course maybe a weakness in your psychological ability.
Or you could describe that as a tendency as well. You have a tendency to eat sweet things. You have a tendency to drink alcohol. It could be a weakness if it becomes something that is bad for you.
Quite nice, really. Mr. Steve, we have an interesting topic here coming up. Now, that is weakness. You might say that weakness is connected to today's big subject, which is conscience. Conscience. It's a great word. Conscience can refer to the way you see the world around you, the way you view the behaviour of people around you. We often look at conscience as being something that I suppose we all have, but for some reason between people it does vary. It can be different. And there you can see. Now you might notice I am the devil, I am the evil one, and Mr. Steve is the angel. So I thought it was only fair to have it that way round. Because if I did it the other way round, there would be complaints. There would. Mainly from Mr. Steve. What is conscience? Here we go, Steve. We will try to get through as much of this as possible. So first of all, the word conscience is a noun that names the inner sense of wrong and right. So we all have this. We all have conscience. The only difference between each one of us is the level of conscience is different, or maybe the process is different between what a person sees and how they judge what is right and wrong, or of course the other way round. The knowledge of understanding what is wrong and what is right. So I think it's very clear to say that conscience really is your control, your self-control, or of course your actions, the way in which you behave towards other people. We often simplify conscience by referring to bad and good. So you might talk about things that are bad, you might talk about things that are seen as good. I suppose, Mr. Steve, overall we look at good and bad in a particular type of way. Quite often we look at those things maybe subjectively. So what is bad or wicked to one person might not be to another. Isn't that strange?
And maybe it's different in different cultures as well. These things vary across the world. A phrase that you will often hear is, do you have a conscience? In other words, do you think about the effects that what you are doing are having on other people?
Yes.
When you decide to do something. So, for example, if somebody's put an example here on the live stream, in fact, Saturino says, the person that starts a war, do they have a conscience?
Well,
Are
that again relates to how it can differ between people and also in different situations.
Yes.
So it is strange. Sometimes people do bad things for good reasons, and sometimes people do good things for bad reasons. So it is strange. That is the reason why conscience is an interesting topic, because it is not always the same between people and, of course, between each situation.
To me, when you use that phrase, it's all related to, do you appreciate, do you have empathy about your actions and the effects they're having on other people? So if you steal things from people, then you could say that that person that breaks into somebody's home, a robber, or somebody that steals your bike, you could say that they don't have a conscience.
Yes.
Because they're not thinking about the effect that their actions will have on you. And so you would say that that person is a bad person because they're selfish, they're not thinking about the effects it would have on you from their actions.
Yes.
Murderers, what effect is that going to have on families and the repercussions on the friends and all that type of thing?
We will get a little bit more into that later on. The complex of moral principles that controls or inhibits one's actions or thoughts. Now, I like this, first of all, because it's got lots of lovely words. The complex, that is the thing. Quite often things can have lots of parts, lots of things that make up that particular thing. It is a complex, the complex of moral principles. Now, I think the word moral is a great word. It goes way back to the early teachings when people were standing up in church. Maybe they were giving their point of view about what people should and should not do. We often look at the word moral.
Robert's mentioned that. Thank you for your comment. That conscience is something related to morality and self-control. So, yeah, thinking along the same lines as Mr. Duncan.
So the complex of moral principles. Your principles are just the way you see things. Everyone has their own set of principles, their way of looking at the world, their way of behaving with other people, the way they behave generally. A person's principles, their own I suppose you might call them your own personal rules, and the way you use them with other people, your principles. So moral principles are the things you see as right. We often talk about morals to do with standards of behaviour. You can have good morals or low morals. Maybe you do bad things or good things. So they control, or maybe they inhibit. There's an interesting word, Steve.
Inhibit, yes. Stop you from doing something or impede you in doing something.
Yes.
If somebody is inhibiting your way, it means that they're stopping you from going where you want to go. Lewis actually makes a good comment as well on here. conscience is instilled in us through various ways, through your religion, family, all these influences that, of course, and don't forget we've got the law as well, which instills in us a way to behave in society that is seen as good and moral. And you've got the 10 Commandments for a start, if you want to look at those. And then you've got, which of course a lot of laws are based on. Some people would say that most law originally comes from religious teachings.
Yeah.
As a way of, because you have to have laws in society, otherwise society doesn't function. You can't have people just going around stealing what they want, getting revenge on people whenever they want.
Well, it's what it actually does. I think with morals, it is all about just keeping society at a certain level of civility, so to be civilized. So I think we often look at morals, that way of behaving in the correct way. And you're right, Steve. Yes, we often hear morals and what is right and wrong used quite often in most religious beliefs. So yes, you are right there, Steve. So we might use the term conscientious, a person who is conscientious. And I like that word. First of all, it's not easy to say. Conscientious.
Conscientious or conscientious.
That's it. To describe a person displaying conscience. So maybe they are thinking carefully about a certain thing. I remember I don't remember personally because I wasn't there. During the Second World War, there were many people who did not want to fight in the war, and also the First World War. Conscientious objectors were people who did not want to fight in the war. And quite often they were imprisoned or even killed as well.
Because their conscience was telling them that they didn't want to get into a situation where they might have to take somebody's life, which of course is what you have to do in war. You have to kill your enemy.
Yes.
So their conscience was telling them that they just couldn't do that because morally for them, they could be religious or it just could be, that's their principle. They couldn't do it. But we're not going to make any judgments that way, but they were just explaining what the term means.
That's it.
Conscientious. If you're a conscientious person in work, you might be described as conscientious in work. You follow all the rules. You do the right thing. You work hard, and you're always known as somebody who's very conscientious, or very working hard, following all the things that you should do, sticking to the rules, and a reliable, solid sort of person.
Yes. So a person that pays attention to what they are doing so conscientious is the adjective form of conscience. A conscientious person, maybe we would describe that as to be or being considerate. You try to do what is right. You always try to do the right thing in the right way. And Steve, you're right, yes, maybe at work, maybe in a certain moral situation, you try to be considerate. You try to do what is right overall. One's feelings of what is wrong and right, to have a moral understanding. We might be seeing a lot of this word, Steve, because I do believe that the word conscience and moral are often used together at the same time in some way, because they do seem to go together quite well. So one's feelings of what is wrong or right. A conscientious person is faithful. Isn't that nice? Upright. That's good. I think that's Mr. Steve, to be honest.
These we're using synonyms here, aren't we, Mr.
That's
Duncan?
it. Yes. So maybe the way in which a conscientious person would be seen as faithful, upright, honest, just. They will try to do the right thing, or maybe the thing that they believe from their own point of view is correct. It's very interesting. Here's a big word, Steve. Can you say this word, Mr. Steve?
Conscientiousness.
That's great, isn't it?
Conscientiousness.
Conscientiousness. Isn't that great? That's a great word.
That's a big word. That's a big word.
That's one of the biggest words we've had on here. That's got quite a few letters. It is a noun, and it is a person wishing to do one's best in a work environment, for example. So conscientiousness is quite often the willingness or the desire to do one's best. So I think quite often Steve, despite what his work colleagues say about him, I think quite often Steve has conscientiousness in his work. Not always, but
it's the difference as well. This is all connected, and Robert made another comment about civilization. It's when we get rules in society and religious points of view. It's all to do with the difference between being civilized and being uncivilized.
yes.
And often these rules are passed down. Lewis made a comment that he was glad that his parents instilled in him this certain morality, a certain level of acting in the right way.
Yes.
In order that, as a society, we all get on. We're not all murdering each other.
No, that is interesting, because I think that is maybe something that has slowly disappeared, or certainly the level of, as you said, Steve, instill. If you instill something, you are placing that thing. Maybe you are giving advice or information to someone. You instill a person to give them courage, self-belief, confidence, and of course conscience as well. So I think that's a very, very interesting way of looking at it. His conscientiousness is a good example to all the other employees.
Yeah. He's a model employee. You could
Yes.
say a model employee, or an upright character, which is we must have used that phrase earlier because Robert's commented on it. If you are seen as an upright or upstanding person, then it means that you're just following all the rules. You're behaving in a very socially and morally good way. But of course, I was going to say, sometimes you just get people who, despite having parents who instill the right behaviours, they could belong to a religion, and then you've got the rules of law. Despite all this, you still do get some people, sort of psychopaths, maybe, or people that have got some mental issue that will not follow the rules.
That's it.
And they don't have a conscience. They're probably, they're morally bankrupt.
Okay.
You could say some people, they just don't care of the effect they have on other people.
Yes, Steve, we'll look at that in a moment.
Okay.
So we are racing way ahead there. Conscientiousness is the personality trait of being responsible, careful and diligent, just like you said, Steve. So the lovely way of behaving, you act in a correct way. It doesn't mean you're boring. Can I just say, if you have conscientiousness, it doesn't mean you are a boring person. Interesting people can also have a conscience as well. And back to conscience. Talking of the word conscience, this word has many uses in life. For example, a person usually has a framework of knowing the difference between wrong and right. And I think that's what it comes down to be honest with you. We all know, if we think about conscience, we all know what is wrong and what is right. Generally,
Yes.
we have an understanding, not necessarily from being taught about it, but also just a sense. You have a sense of what is wrong and what is right. For example, if you walk down the road, you see an old lady, you don't go and push her to the ground. You don't need someone to tell you that that is wrong, because you kind of know it is wrong. And I think that is the interesting part of conscience. There are things that naturally we have that prevent us from doing things or doing certain things. The basic moral rule or codes of behaviour in society, again, almost the same as what I just said, the things that we just know are wrong. We often use the phrase moral compass. I like this phrase, Steve.
Yes.
A person's moral compass. So imagine if you're finding your way through a wood or a place you are unfamiliar with. You are trying to use the compass to follow the right direction.
Yes.
And of course, it's the same, isn't it?
Yes. What does your conscience tell you if you're trying to make a decision on to do something? Sometimes it could have moral implications, and which way is your moral compass pointing? Is it pointing you in the good direction, or is it pointing you in the bad direction? What is your moral compass if you are confronted with maybe sometimes difficult decisions? What decision do you make? What does your quite often you have to sort of, don't you? We think inside, and what's my conscience telling me?
Yes.
Is the best thing to do in this situation. I mean, some situations are very black and white. It's obvious, but it's those situations in life when we're not quite certain, is this the right thing to do or not the right thing to do?
Yes.
And it might be very different for different people.
Yes.
Because we've all got different cultures around the world.
We've all had different experiences.
That's right.
In life. So the things that we feel are right and wrong may differ just because of our own experience or the way we were raised by our parents. We often use the phrase moral compass because we are showing the direction in which we are going from a choice we make, an action we carry out. So there are many ways of using that. The direction we take when doing something, is it right or wrong?
If you were maybe a manager at work and somebody was underperforming, you might think to yourself, that person, we need to sack that person, we need to fire that person. But then that's a difficult decision because there could be some good things that they're doing or some bad things that they're doing, and that may be something for your conscience to wrestle with. And when if you're breaking up a relationship, that might be a difficult thing. Telling off a child, punishing somebody for doing something bad, all these sorts of things, you might need to think about what your conscience is telling you, because at the end of the day, you've got to be able to live with your decision. I mean, most decisions aren't irreversible. Most decisions that you make are reversible to a certain extent. But so sometimes you might make the wrong decision and you might feel bad about it.
Yes.
Your conscience is telling you, I did the wrong thing. But we all do this.
Yes.
We all go through this process sometimes.
But generally speaking, our moral compass is a thing that is reliable as long as we are not distracted by other things, a bit like what Steve just said. So it is possible for your moral compass to slightly go off now and again if you lose control of your emotions, for example.
You can say, I've lost my moral compass. Maybe because you're stressed or something going on in your life that's uncomfortable, causing stress, anxiety. You might lose your moral compass and you might be tempted to maybe drink too much,
yes,
or have affairs or something like that, because your moral compass is off balance. But that could be because of other stresses that are happening in your life.
Or simply just lying about things, telling untruths because you are trying to hide something. So again, your moral compass, you might think you are a person with conscience, or a conscience believing person. You believe in your own right and wrong, but sometimes it can go off because you might suddenly be in a situation where you have to do things that might not be right. The view of whether an action is helpful or harmful, again, this is a person's conscience as an action and also as an outcome. The thing you do and the effect of that thing if you were to actually do it. So it is interesting how it covers a lot of things. Conscience is a reflection of one's character. And I think this is an interesting one because we look at a person, quite often we are judged, aren't we, Steve, by our conscience.
Yes, it's that little voice inside you, that little voice that's telling you, should I have lied to that person? You know, if you're late for an appointment, we all do this.
Yeah,
if you're late for an appointment somewhere, the traffic was... It could have been because you actually got out of bed too late, or you forgot. But often we'll blame the traffic.
Yeah. What I'm saying here, Steve, conscience is a reflection of one's character, so we can judge another person by their conscience, whether they believe that certain things are right or wrong. It's rather like having a debate, isn't it?
Yes, often we get angry and annoyed at people because we judge them by our own sense of morals and our own sense of consciousness, and we will get angry at people if they behave in a way that we feel that we wouldn't behave towards them.
Yes.
But they don't seem to care. It's like somebody playing loud music in the house next door, till 2 o'clock in the morning on a regular basis. What are they thinking? You might get very angry and think, don't they have a conscience? Don't they realise the effect it's having on me?
Well, we've had a recent situation with dogs. People allowing their dogs to bark all the time. And it's almost as if they have no conscience. They have no way of knowing that they are causing problems for other people. A person who does bad things without worrying about the consequences. We often describe this person as having no conscience. They do bad things. And let's face it, if you look at the news, if you look at the internet every day, you will see people all around the world. Fortunately, not many people, because there are a lot of people in the world, but fortunately, most of them are not bad. But you will find people doing bad things, and we often describe them as having no conscience.
You have no conscience. In other words, if somebody does something, maybe they do something bad to somebody at work, and you see that happening, you might chastise them or berate them and say, so you've got no conscience. How could you have done that? Don't you have a conscience?
You try to put them right.
You try to put them right about what they've said. And maybe, Lewis here mentions another thing, that whatever we believe now, right and wrong, it's different. Not only is it different between different cultures, but it's different in different times. So 100 years ago, what could be seen as morally wrong now could have been perfectly acceptable then, or vice versa.
That's true.
So these certain basic Prince things are never changing.
No.
It's never going to be good to. Well, I won't say, but certain things we know are wrong.
Yeah,
and should never be done.
That's kind of what I meant earlier by just you don't need even to be told. Now, I'm not a religious person, but I know it is bad to kill another person. You don't have to tell me that. You don't need to write it down on a big stone tablet and post it through my letterbox. I know that, because there is that moral compass that is already set that says that is wrong, that is bad, don't do that. Stealing, lying. Well, of course, these are things that are slightly less serious, but it is still better not to lie, not to steal, not to cheat. And you kind of know that these things are bad anyway, or they are wrong. You don't actually need to be told. But yes, you're right. There are people who stand as being moral guides, I suppose there is a way of describing that. So a person who does bad things without worrying about the consequences can be described as having no conscience. A person with no conscience will often feel no empathy for others. So it goes much deeper than that when you think about it. In certain people, that feeling, that lack of feeling, can go much deeper into a person's character. They have maybe no empathy. They feel nothing from other people. They don't really care about what other people feel.
Joseph mentions as well, comments that the conscience is your inner voice. We would say inner voice. It's that little voice that tells you, that makes you feel guilty if you do something that is against certain sort of inbuilt principles that were probably put there by your parents or your religion. But of course, that all depends on circumstances, doesn't it?
Yes, everyone's different, but we still kind of have an idea, even naturally in our minds, about what is right and wrong. To have no conscience, to be cold-hearted. So there is a really dramatic phrase, to be cold-hearted. A person who has no conscience, they have no feelings. They might even be sociopathic. So I think that's the word Mr. Steve was. I think you said, didn't you say psychopath? Well, a sociopath is probably nearer, although you could probably use both, couldn't you? But sociopath,
yes,
a person who does not care about other people's feelings. They are almost oblivious. They don't even notice that people have feelings. They're just things around them, so they just use them in any way they feel.
Some people are just like this. They just like it. It doesn't matter how much that's instilled, how much sort of good values are instilled into them by their parents or by religion or society. Some people just are like this, and that's just the way they're born. You won't be able to change them, probably. But they're, exactly. Sociopath is somebody, who's who just treats people very badly
Yeah,
and just doesn't care.
that's it.
Uh,
So the definition here, a sociopath has no concept of social norms. That is to say, they have no idea, they have no concept, they have no feeling of what is right and wrong. They don't see any difference between doing bad things and good things.
Yes.
They think all of those things are all on the same level. They have no moral conscience.
And they also could be described as antisocial.
Yes.
Robert's put a question up. You must be thinking, must be connecting with your brain, Mr. Duncan, because the question's coming up before you're actually putting the subject matter on the screen. But yes, a sociopath could be described as antisocial, somebody that behaves in a way that is deemed inappropriate, like, for example, putting graffiti on the wall, the side of a building, scratching somebody's car, making loud noises, shouting at people in public.
I'm not sure if they're sociopathic.
Well, yes, antisocial.
Yes, antisocial is a bit less than a sociopath. Sociopath, if you've ever seen, I'm trying to think of the name of the film now. You see, it happens to me sometimes, but there is a film about a man who is a sociopath, and he has this normal life, but at night he does terrible things. And I wish I could remember the name of the movie. And he is a very good example of a sociopath. They don't see the wrong thing. They don't see it as being bad.
Yes, whereas antisocial is a level down.
Yes.
An atheist, you wouldn't. Well, an atheists, of course, can be just people who don't believe in God. That doesn't mean that they're not. They don't have morals. Of course, you can be atheist. Just because you don't believe in a God doesn't mean that you don't believe in applying the general rules that you would expect in a society, like not killing people, not stealing, not cheating, that type of thing.
You don't get many atheists going to prison for horrible crimes.
Sorry, Mr. Duncan?
Sorry?
What did you say?
You don't find many atheists going to prison for horrible crimes. Quite often they're done in the name of something else.
Yes, the two aren't connected. An atheist or being morally right or correct aren't connected.
That's it. No.
Atheist is just somebody that doesn't believe in a God. You can not believe in God and be very moral.
Steve, we've got to move on.
No, I'm just answering. Yeah.
Yes, we've got 3 minutes. In simple terms, conscience is a way of working out whether or not something is wrong or right. So again, your conscience is something it's always happening. I think it's fair to say that a person's conscience is always working.
Your inner voice, as we've mentioned.
It never stops. You are constantly doing that one thing. You are using your conscience to work out whether something is right, wrong, good or bad. Sometimes we must decide whether something is wrong or right, which leads me on. Here we go, Steve. There it is. We must listen to our inner voice. And we often hear this said, don't we, Steve? We often hear people say that it is like you've got two small versions of yourself sitting on your shoulders, and one of them is the good guy and the other one is the bad guy, and they're trying to convince you whether to do that thing or whether not to do it. So it's a bit like that, and that is your inner voice. It is almost like you've got this debate going on, almost in here, deep inside, at the base of your brain. It's all going on, it's all happening.
And sometimes in society we have courts of law that will determine a crime has been committed, and you've got a court to decide whether the defendant is guilty or not. But sometimes crimes haven't been committed, but there are things called a justice of the peace, for example, where you can go and have conflicts sorted out between two people. And we see these like Judge Judy on the television and other sort of televised courts where they're trying to sort out sort of almost moral or acts of consciousness. They're trying to sort out between two people. You often see these, don't you, these programs, but of course they happen in reality. There are these courts around the country where judges will sit, and not because there's a crime being committed, but because two people are in conflict over something. There could be an agreement, for example, to somebody hasn't paid the rent on a house, but the other person might say, well, I didn't have to pay it because the agreement wasn't sorted out properly, and then you will have judges will look at the moral aspects of this.
Yeah, we often call it civil court or small claims court. I think in this country we call it civil. You can take civil action against someone to get something back that belongs to you. But yes, you're right.
And this is often there are television programs that will look at these specific nuances of, and somebody there will sit there and decide what should have been the correct path of action to take.
Sometimes it is hard to decide what is right when you are emotional. So this almost comes back to what we were saying earlier. Never do anything angry. Never do anything whilst you are in a bad mood, because quite often your rational thinking will be affected in some way. So you might do the wrong thing when you are in a bad mood. So never ever do things, never take action or react to something when you are in a bad mood. We can describe this as a moral dilemma, a certain thing that might come along. So something that is a moral dilemma. Can you think of something, Steve, just very quickly, what would be a moral dilemma?
A moral dilemma, yes, that could be a revenge killing, for example. Somebody murders somebody that you love. Somebody might murder a child of yours or your partner, and then you go and kill them. Now that's a moral dilemma, because should you have done that? Should you get revenge on that person who has wronged you? If somebody steals something from you, somebody steals your car, steals your bike, should you go then and steal something of theirs or punish them in some other way? Or should you leave it for the courts to decide? That would be a moral dilemma.
Quite often,
maybe.
Moral dilemmas refer to the outcome of the situation rather than what is actually happening. For example, maybe a child, Steve, has to have life-saving surgery. And so an operation that will save their life. But they have to take something, I don't know, a part of the body from someone else. Maybe a person who has died, but they didn't give permission for their organs to be used. So maybe this child needs a new kidney or a new liver, and there is a perfect donor, but that person has not given permission. What do? Do you do it anyway because you are going to save that child's life? Or do you say, no, we can't do that. We have to ignore this situation. We have to let the child die because the other person hasn't given permission. So that might be seen as a moral dilemma.
Yes,
because at some point you're going to have to do the wrong thing. Whatever you do is going to be wrong.
There are certain religions that don't allow blood transfusions, for example, or certain religions that don't allow procedures to be carried out that could save a person's life if they're in that religion. So the moral dilemma would be for the doctor. Does the doctor involved go against what the religion says and treat that person?
Yeah.
That could be a moral dilemma.
Yeah. So an outcome that would be negative either way. So a moral dilemma is about not the action, but the actual result. The outcome is the moral dilemma, because whatever you do, it will be possibly the wrong thing in some way or other. So it won't be a perfect situation. The temptation to do something can sometimes be strong. Oh my goodness. This almost goes back to what we were talking about earlier, Steve, about weakness. So temptation, there is a great word. Temptation. That's the sort of thing that you find in religious books. Temptation.
Temptation.
You are tempted by something. Now, quite often with me, the biggest temptation that I have is a bar of chocolate in the kitchen. That's it. So I'm being tempted. I want to eat that chocolate, but my conscience says no, Mr. Duncan, you must not eat that chocolate because you are trying to lose weight. So there it is. It just shows how that can be a big thing. You are trying to stop yourself. Your conscience is stopping you from doing something. A moment of weakness. There it is, you see. There's the word. We've almost come round full circle. A moment of weakness or a lapse of conscience. Moments where you forget what is right and what is wrong.
Now, Christina said earlier, we're only human and we make mistakes.
It is true, we do.
And, there's always the chance to apologise or make amends if you do something wrong. To make amends, you make up for what you've done in some way.
As long as the thing isn't too serious,
yes,
you are okay. And I suppose the final thing, Steve, this is a good one. We'll open this out. Why do some people do bad things? You don't have to look very far, do you, Steve, nowadays? People seem to be doing bad things. Not many people, because there are billions of people in the world. But there might be some, just a few, not many.
Just a few million.
Who, well, yes, okay, but around the world. Around the world. And quite often the things they do are not necessarily serious or harmful, but people do bad things all the time. You often hear of people doing bad things, but why? Well, I suppose one of the big theories is a person's background. Would you say, Steve?
Yes, I was going to say as well that when it comes to judging people for doing things which we view as unsavoury and not holding themselves up to certain moral standards, the people that, of course, are punished the most or looked or thought of badly the most are the people who put themselves in positions of moral authority. So if you are an MP, a judge, a policeman, if you're in these types of roles,
a priest,
then if you end up committing crimes yourself, then you will be judged very harshly, because if you are putting yourself into a position of giving moral guidance to other people.
Well, if you're telling other people what to do,
yes, then a policeman who commits a crime and ends up in prison is going to experience. Is going to have a very bad experience.
Yeah.
An MP that is telling us what to do and then is found out to be fiddling expenses,
Okay.
which is something that's happened a lot in the UK.
Yes.
Morally, you could say that they were morally bankrupt because
Yeah.
they should be above this. They should be in a position where they are not. Their conscience should always be in control.
Maybe.
But of course, we are only human. But
Yes.
people will be judged very harshly if they're in positions of authority like that.
Maybe a priest stands up and
Yes.
tells everyone, believe, be good, but then they are doing really horrible things.
Yes,
Really, really horrible things.
and we know what
See?
horrible
see?
things they've been
So you
doing.
should-
We won't go into
you-
that.
Okay, Steve, you should never put yourself up as a moral person if you are doing things that are bad. And quite often, people who do bad things will quite often appear to be really nice and lovely. If there's one thing we have learnt over the past 20 years, people who seem lovely and nice and kind and generous quite often turn out to be quite the opposite.
Usually, I think the answer to that question is that people do bad things because it's all about themselves.
Yes.
They want something, and they're quite prepared to break the rules.
Maybe
to get it.
Maybe a certain fault in their personality. Maybe they are a narcissist. So a person with narcissism, which is a very serious condition, a lot of people normally make jokes about that, being a narcissist. But in fact, it is a recognised problem, and a person can believe that they are able to do whatever they want.
I used to know somebody, when I went to their house, they had pictures of themselves all over their house. That was quite disturbing.
That wasn't me, was it?
That's a person that has pictures of themselves around their house is definitely a narcissist.
Okay.
They think too much of themselves.
Hmm.
I didn't stay there for long. Right, it's
Well,
4:10, Mr. Duncan.
It's almost a psychological thing that they can't control. Anyway, that is today's live stream. I have to say, I think there is a lot there for you to watch. By the way, if you've missed this live stream, do not panic, because you can watch this all over again, and later on there will be lovely captions in your own language. And can I just say something else while Steve is still here? If I can find it, we would like to ask you to like and subscribe, please, as well. I know everyone on YouTube says this all the time, and I'm going to say it. Please like and subscribe. You have no idea how valuable and how lovely it is when we receive new subscribers and also likes as well. Next Sunday, it is Mr. Steve's birthday. Oh, Mr.
Is it next Sunday? You're right, it is. I'd
Yes.
forgotten.
Yes, we mentioned it earlier. And I'm going to be here with Steve next Sunday. So you will have a chance to say happy birthday.
I thought you were taking me out for the day, Mr. Duncan.
I am. I'm taking you into my studio to do a live stream.
Great.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. And as well, if you want to make comments at the bottom of Mr. Duncan's videos, that also helps Mr. Duncan's channel as well. It doesn't even if it's bad things, it doesn't matter. Just make some comments. It does really help. Lovely to be here, Mr. Duncan. Hope I've enjoyed it, and I hope you've learnt something today that will help you in your journey to learning better English. See you next week.
There he goes, Mr. Steve. Give us a smile. People love your smile. They do. Everyone loves Mr. Steve's big smile. It's almost time to go. We are 15 minutes over. So you have an extra 15 minutes of me today. I hope you've enjoyed today's live stream. A lot of things to talk about. Watch everything again and hopefully it will be helpful to you. Don't forget to check out my YouTube channel as well. Lots and lots of lessons from simple to complicated, from basic to intermediate. Everything is there for you. This is Mr. Duncan in the birthplace of the English language saying thanks for watching. I am back with you on Wednesday. So you have me again on Wednesday. Just me. 2 p.m. UK time is when I'm back with you. And of course, until the next time we meet here, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Have a super duper time. Whatever it is you are doing, keep that smile upon your face as you walk amongst the human race. And of course, you know what's coming next. Ta-ta for now. See you on Wednesday.